Finally, an answer to the age-old question, which comes first, the chicken or the egg roll? Easy! Just eat whichever one's closest. The Sensation Salad and Filet Sandwich Meal are back at Zaxby's. Both feature our famous hand-breaded chicken, crispy wontons, Asian slaw, and citrus vinaigrette. And each comes with its very own egg roll for a limited time only at Zaxby's. Try them with fried pickles while supplies last.
From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
wake up, wake up. WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
and this is Wake Up War Chant, presented by Zaxby's
Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hajavandi.
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? It's Wake Up War Chant presented by Zaxby's. Indescribably good.
Yeah, that was something was indescribable.
Well, here's the thing, everybody. So your boy, it's my birthday. Well, it's no longer my birthday when you're listening to this, so it's fine. You don't have to wish me happy birthday. I'm taking naps after we speak to Coach Norvell in the morning and then promptly rolling out of bed and doing the show. So sometimes my voice isn't primed, as evidenced by the beginning of the show. We're gonna soldier forward, though, Corey. Even though we could do this all over. We could stop. We could re-record it, pretend this never happened. Not going to do it. We're gonna soldier on. We're going to keep doing the show. I'm going to try to go as long as I can without saying as well. That's going to be my birthday present to you, the listener. Corey, how are you?
I'm good, buddy. I had an unfortunate nap as well on Wednesday morning. Didn't realize that the time for Norvell had been pushed up 45 minutes. So, I get my kid ready for his digital learning day, make sure he's, fed and dressed because he's got to be on camera. And then thought, you know what? It's whatever it is, 9:15. I got an hour and a half. I'm gonna go rest the eyes a little bit. Go have some dreams, and then I wake up to a message saying it's been moved to 10:15. So, for all the subscribers out there, I apologize for you having to read Ira's wrap up of the Norvell. Number one, he was asking all the questions, so he had to do both. So that's what it would look like if I was asking questions. But I feel like if you were on the thread and you watched it kind of transform, it would be pretty easy to see when I took over, which was midway through Odell is when Corey woke up, got on his sweatpants, came down and started typing and listening. So good start to the day. Good start to the work day to be 45 minutes late.
Just remember, if we ever say anything on the show that upsets you, and in reaction to that you want to pull your membership, just remember Ira's on the payroll. It will hurt Ira as well. And there's no reason to ever hurt Ira because he's a workhorse. Asking
That's a good
questions.
thought. Yeah, like you
transparent.
might not like us. It'd be weird that you were listening to this if you didn't like us, but I guess people hate listening to things. If you don't like us, that's fine. It's weird. We're both very eminently likable, especially me. But there's Ira, there's Gene, there's Michael. I mean, come on. Don't unsubscribe just because you don't like us on a podcast. We're so much more than just one podcast too. We do a lot of other stuff.
Right.
Aslan's really good at his job. He really is.
Sometimes. Also, Alicia, who does our social media, I feel like I overlook her. She's instrumental in what we do as well, keeping everybody abreast on social media. So we're a big family.
Point, Aslan. Yeah, we are a big family.
We're a big family. We're out here trying to get everybody all the information they want on Florida State. So we did speak to Coach Mike Norvell on Wednesday morning. They'll be back at it today as you're listening to this on Thursday, but we'll speak in the past tense because of the way we do this show, which is, the day before. It's okay. So Norvell, Odell Hagens, then who else did we get? We had Quayshawn, we had Travis J, and Alex Mastromano, the leg from down under, Thunder from down under, I think is the way they refer to it. I really did say bridge underwater instead of water under the bridge. Really hurt myself yesterday with that. Yeah. I can't believe I botched that one. But then, hey, I said that the number 4 preseason player for Florida State was going to be a running back who's not even on a college roster right now. So,
Has he not landed anywhere?
I don't think so. Then again, I really haven't seeked out information on where Kalen Laburn's at. Hope it does work out for him, though. It's not his fault that I put him number 4 on that list. He didn't tell me to do that. That was me.
It's probably his fault that he was kicked off the team, though.
Possibly.
Yeah.
So we did speak to Coach Mike Norvell. They cut practice a little bit short, so it's not your fault, Corey. I think they didn't even realize that was going to happen until it happened. None of us even asked them why. I felt like we should have, but maybe that had been a little too intrusive. It was mainly special teams, situational football stuff they worked on. It was a scatter shot of questions. It just makes me really appreciate, as somebody who was a member, although you weren't here when I was a member, you were across town at the newspaper, but covering a team when you're not able to watch them practice and asking questions is a very interesting sort of exercise in occupational hazards. But, Mike Norvell answers questions that we ask him. It's just we don't really have – I guess it depends on what you're trying to work on for that day if you're a reporter. You're trying to maybe get a story idea, but then again, you don't see who's really out there standing out on the field. But you guys don't want to hear that. That's not a complaint. That's just me kind of pulling the curtain back a little bit. Only thing that really caught my ear today was him mentioning the offensive line play, and in particular, maybe this is why coaches don't single out players, because people like me then attach to that and underline it and put it in the headline of a story. But when he was talking about developing the depth they want on the offensive line, 2 guys he pointed out, I was trying to maybe see if he would mention Ira Henry, because somebody had asked about that on the show the other day. But Thomas Schrader from Venice High School here in Florida, and Robert Scott out of, I don't know if is he from Conway, Arkansas? He's from Arkansas, I know that. I'm not sure if it's from the town that UCA, Mike Norvell's alma mater, is from. But those,
that feels right. I think one of the recruits was. I think that's him.
Yeah, he was only. I think he's the only Arkansan on the roster, but I can double check that.
Is that what we call them? Arkansans?
Arkansans?
Arkansans? Arkansas? Well, it's Arkansas. It would be like if it's Georgia, so I'm called you're called a Georgian. It'd be like calling them a Georgian.
Well,
like it's Arkansas, so you should be an Arkansan.
Yeah.
Not an Arkansan. But I'm saying I think you're right. I think I've heard that before, which just doesn't make sense. But they do a lot of weird things in that state.
So that's what caught my ear. Darn it. Well, I said, I'm going to try to get away from doing that. But 2 true freshmen, and they're competing for jobs, he says. Now, I don't know if that's problematic for some people or encouraging in that they're able, again, to identify talent that fits what they want to do, although you should probably give Schrader Taggart an assist on that one. I'm pretty sure that relationship was being developed well beforehand. But Robert Scott, that came out of nowhere. That was all Norvell and the new guys.
Yeah, and I think, when they say they're competing, it doesn't necessarily mean, hey, this guy's going to start. Yeah, he is from Conway, Arkansas. 6'5", 320. Big boy.
Let's go.
But that he's competing, he's practicing like he wants to play. You can see some of these freshmen, probably especially at that position, where they just come in assuming, all right, well, I'm a true freshman. I'm not going to start on a college football offensive line at Florida State. So let me just learn what I'm doing, kind of slowly but surely come to, get comfortable with this position and the speed of the game. And I think when he singled those, or I guess you can't say singled when he talked about 2 guys, when he doubled those 2 guys out, I think it's more about just the fact that they're out there competing, like wanting to start. It doesn't necessarily mean they will, but that they care enough to like really be invested and try to earn playing time. Because
I think they're performing. That's what I got from that.
I'm sure I'm sure they're doing well enough that he brought their names up. But I'm saying I don't know that like if they started right now, it's like, man, okay, I guess Robert Scott's starting for us. I mean, I could be. Maybe I'm completely misreading it. I think those 2 guys have been probably the most impressive of the 2 freshmen. And then he brought up that they're competing for spots. Like they actually are out there competing, being competitive. I still wouldn't think that means that they're going to – I wouldn't expect either one of those guys to start. But I could be wrong. They might be awesome. How would I know? Aslan? I haven't seen a second.
Well, no, I mean, that's the question that was asked, and I think it was me who asked it and elicited the answer, was just basically that number 8. I don't even know who brought it up originally, if it was him or Kenny or Coach Atkins, about the number of players they wanted to have available to work on the offensive line and how that was coming along. And he then volunteered those 2 names and said, they're competing for jobs. So if you're looking at that roster and maybe, again, somebody who thinks, Ira Henry, this guy was big, strong dude from East St. Louis, quite talented. Where's he stand in the thick of this? Well, hey, man, maybe some of these true freshmen actually are going to be able to go out there and compete day one and get some burn, because some years he says you have 8, 9, or 10, and then there's other years where you only have 5 or 6 guys that you can really put in there. So don't maybe shorten your list to guys that necessarily have been on campus longer than others if you're looking at contributors. I think it's pretty encouraging. Also because they did point out Robert Scott on signing day as a guy they felt really good about, and for them to have that sort of confirmed this early on, again, these are encouraging things when you're starting to judge a staff from
I
the
also
jump.
I don't feel like that's the first time we've heard either one of their names.
Correct, yeah.
I think they've been brought up multiple times, which, again, is also a good sign. Now, I always had the caveat, or I qualify it to say, look, these are their recruits. So there might be a little bias. I know they're going to get their best players out on the field, but when you bring in guys that aren't highly touted, one guy's from the small city in Arkansas where you went to college, it certainly doesn't hurt to talk up how well they're playing. Like, look how good of recruiters we are. Y'all keep questioning us. These guys can play. It's like, well, yeah, they should be able to play. You don't get a pat on the back for that. But I think there's been a lot more true freshmen being talked up than maybe holdover freshmen and second-year guys. But also, I think that's what you do normally. You're talking more about the guys that you haven't seen before, guys new to the campus, because you know about that transition. All these guys have been around coaching for 20 years. They know the transition can be hard. And so some guys that make it quicker, they do stand out. But, I just will pump the brakes a little bit on how good these guys can be, because there's a lot of qualifiers. Number one, what are we, 12 practices in, 9 practices in, something like that. We still got, what do we got, Aslan? We're down to we're 24 days away.
All right.
From the start of football. 24 days away, folks. We're getting there. We're slowly churning towards it. So, they've talked up some guys that they brought in, which is, it's going to happen. It's their team. It's their guys. They want them to be good. But let's wait a little while before we think they're going to be starting as true freshmen.
Yeah, I think it's.
But yes, you're right. It is positive. It's positive that there are guys that, at the worst, might be able to add some valuable depth.
Hey, Corey, I showed up to the interview. I'm just trying to give us something to talk about, okay? Don't criticize where I'm coming from.
There's no need to take shots, man. You and Ira dominated that interview, by the way.
Also,
it was like 90%, the two of you.
Yeah, I just felt I had to carry my weight because Ira was going to have to ask questions and tweet or transcribe, so just felt like I had to help a guy out here. Also, file this under proof that if you don't know what you're talking about, just act confident in what you're saying, and people will go along with it. The GPS stuff is called catapult. I was calling it slingshot yesterday. It's
Slingshot's the thing for the TV, right?
Sling box, or just slinging. Slinging.
Okay.
Sling.
I went with you too, and I was actually here.
You were.
When it didn't sound right, but then my mind isn't what it used to be. And, I can tell you some scores from games in the 90s, but I can't remember the stuff that's actually a part of my job. So it didn't sound right, but I wasn't confident enough to correct you because I didn't know the actual name of it. So sorry about that.
And the reason I bring that up is because Norvell did mention it by name with GPS. I did want to ask him a follow-up on that.
There you go.
Yeah. I wanted to ask him a follow-up on that, but I did not. My other question was just about how much they had maybe put into West Virginia and how much that might have affected them getting ready for the season, because I would imagine they wanted to get a real good head start on that, which I think he said they did to a certain degree, but ultimately that's what everybody kind of does. You have that long-term plan. And I wanted to open the door a little bit for whether or not that would be an option for 11th game. I think Matt Baker from the St. Pete Times or Tampa Bay Times came back in on top of that to follow up, and that's still a work in progress. A lot of moving parts. But what he did say is that I think he mentioned something about that's ultimately an administrative sort of decision. So he's involved in it, but ultimately it'll come down to, I guess, David Coburn figuring out what they're going to do for that 11th game. Apparently, South Alabama's AD came out and said that maybe they had conversation with FSU, but they couldn't come to an agreement. So that seems to be about the bar they want to dabble in for that 11th game, right, Corey? Like that lower tier, obviously with the Big Ten and the Pac-12 being out of the picture, and the SEC going to stick in with their own kind this time around, the options for that 11th game are a bit limited, and they're kind of those sneaky 5-6 win group of 5 programs where you want to be, right? You don't want the week off, as you mentioned the other day. You don't want that week off.
I think South Alabama is the sweet spot. Something like that is perfect. It's competition. It's in front of a throng of 12 or 14,000 people, maybe. But more than anything, it's just competition. It's live. It's real games, and it's valuable experience for those guys because they're going to need it. They're a pretty young team, and yeah, you need all the reps you can get, like live game reps, because I bet. Yeah, I was going to say, even if they didn't have that game, he would want to do some sort of scrimmage or something. You need reps for these guys, and you don't want a week off after week 1. So that would be perfect to me. That's the perfect opponent. BYU, by the way, we were asked about them yesterday, I believe.
Correct.
They are up to 5 opponents that they've scheduled now. I think they're going to be playing Navy as well.
All right. Good for the Cougs. Good for the Cougars.
A random South Alabama memory I have is back at the Democrat when I first started, I would cover a lot of the Olympic sports. I don't know. Is tennis an Olympic sport?
It's considered. Yeah, it's not an umbrella.
It's weird because you don't think of tennis as an Olympic sport, but
it's more diplomatic than calling it non-revenue
or a country club.
Well, hey.
So anyway, the Florida State men were playing South Alabama. I'm almost positive it was South Alabama in the second round of the NCAA tournament. And dude, every South Alabama player would argue every point, to the point where one guy started screaming and sat down on the court and wouldn't get up in the middle of the court. And now remember, they're calling their own points. It's college tennis. Maybe they do have line judges. No, I guess they did. In the NCAA tournament, they are provided with line judges, and it's not like a regular match where you call your own points, I guess. So he literally would not get up in the middle of the match, and it was every other point. These guys, it wasn't just that dude; they were all yelling the whole time. It was bizarre. It was unlike. It might have been the last men's tennis match I covered. But anyway, that's a random South Alabama factoid for you.
It looks like this was picked up by. I can't pull up the full story. Maybe I can. BlessSeminoles.com. They're out here trying, but they're not executing the best when it comes to having their archive instantly available. I tried to Google FSU South Alabama tennis NCAA Corey Clark.
It didn't work out.
You come up here, it says Corey, in the results on Google, it says Corey Clark, NoleSports.com, and it's something from August 15th, 2011. But when you click on it, the only thing that comes up is some story that you wrote about somebody named Thompson a while ago, and it wasn't Warren.
About Chris Thompson? It wasn't Warren Thompson or Chris
there
Thompson?
There we go, yeah. Thompson back full speed. Yeah.
Okay.
Old Chris.
All right, there you go.
Old Chris. I didn't watch all that after we talked about the other week about, how excited can we be for football with so many things hanging in the balance. Wasn't Hard Knocks on the other night? Didn't watch it. Is it Tuesday, right? Tuesday Hard Knocks? Forgot.
No, I think it's Wednesday night it comes on.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, then I'll feel.
Yeah. Again, it's hard to know, man. It's just hard to get fired up about. I'm telling you, it's still. Is every team started training camp for the NFL? Are they going to play the normal season? I haven't been paying attention to any of it. Did they delay their start of their schedules at all? Or are they just full bore? We're playing the second week of September.
Last I heard, they are.
Yeah, okay, I haven't even gotten to that. It's a bummer that Hard Knocks is just completely off the radar. But I'm sure I'll watch it when I get a chance.
Apparently, Jalen had a big thump on Cam Akers. Somebody tweeted at me, so maybe that'll make the cut. Knoll on knoll violence. Although, who knows? Maybe the NFL is waiting to see what the college is going to do so they can fill in those Saturdays if it doesn't happen. It hasn't crossed my mind, though. We've been talking about when are we going to record this show during the days, and you kind of cautioning me against recording it too early because at any point something can drop. I don't feel that. Maybe I just haven't been on Twitter constantly or as much as I have been leading up to this, but I do not feel as threatened that the season's not going to happen. I just feel the line was drawn with bringing the governor on campus, with all these social media tiffs with the coaching staff and players, and they just keep moving past them all. Every obstacle that's been put in front of them, continuing to press forward. Just hard to think what would happen in the 12th hour to make it all stop. And me being the cynical, skeptical guy, I didn't even let my mind go there, Corey. I didn't even let my mind wander over there.
Hey, man, I'm with you. And, there was a lot of there's been some stories written now about the bubble and creating a bubble and sending all the students home. And somebody brought up a good point on Twitter that I hadn't even thought about. Like, they always make the claim that it's not fair to the student athletes because it makes them understand that they're not the regular student if they're allowed to be on campus and nobody else is. But it happens every year in winter break. Like the basketball team, probably the football team too, but the basketball team's on campus for an entire month with nobody there. They don't send them home so they can be the regular student. I mean, there are sacrifices that are made. There are, just understandings that we have. And I'm just going to keep coming to that because schools are opening up, folks, and you're going to keep hearing about this. If you get on Twitter, it's always going to be negative. They'll have to make the decision, and when they do, to say everything's remote, but we're still going to have a football season, then that's when I'll feel 100% sure. Like you see all these stories, like Georgia Tech came out today and announced they're going to have 20% capacity. So did Georgia. So are all these schools, and other schools are talking about whether they're going to allow tailgating or not. And I'm like, this is all great. I love the discussions, but there's still something that has to happen between now and then, because again, there's going to be clusters, there's going to be outbreaks, and we hope that. I hope that they decide to do what they should have decided to do 5 months ago and bubbleize those kids. Because another point, I think it was David Hale from ESPN pointed out, and I'll call him out since I called him out yesterday about what do we call the GPS thing?
Catapult.
The catapult system, yeah. I think it's from Australia, right? Australia or New Zealand? I think that's where it was designed.
I'll look it up.
He brought up the fact that, they're worried about like maybe NCAA, they're worried about lawsuits about the NCAA itself is worried about, they're trying to say that students are regular students, they're not employees. I'm sorry, these football players aren't employees, they're regular students. And this hurts that cause if you then let them stay on campus when nobody else can. The NCAA is trying to save some money and make sure the players aren't paid, all that stuff. But he also points out, look, if you give them an option to opt out and they don't, well, that might cover you a little bit. Like they're not being made to stay. They do have a decision to opt out if they want to with no penalty. When nobody's going to lose their scholarship, so that could be something we see talked about here in the next few weeks as well. But like I said, Aslan, 24 days, my man.
Let's
24 days. I still haven't decided on the toupee. It's going to be sweet, and it's going to be my Twitter profile. I've had the one with me and Brady for far too long. That's almost 3 years old now. Yeah. It might be 3 years old. So I got to get a new Twitter picture anyway. All right. So yeah, I'm gonna make the toupee is going to happen.
Catapult is headquartered in Melbourne, Australia.
Booyah. I remembered something about that system. Couldn't remember the name, or even if they still used it, but I knew it was from Australia.
I wonder, do we call it Melbourne? I always feel like we call it Melbourne, Florida.
I call it Melbourne, but is it Melbourne?
I think that's the way,
How about my man, Mastro, is it Mastro Mono?
See, that's another. It could be Mastro Mano, but I've been saying Mono.
But he kept saying he got to play on Doak Campbell Stadium. He said it twice. Instead of in. And so I pointed that out at my story I wrote about him. It's like, look, he might not still have the vernacular down of this, this sport of this country, but you don't play on a stadium. You play on a field. So, but he made that mistake twice. But I thought you asked good questions there too, Aslan.
Trying. I didn't articulate it well enough, but my parents always sort of laughed at American football just because of the start and stop nature of it, and because it's called football and the hand is predominantly used in it, plus soccer is called football everywhere else, and et cetera, and this is what happens when you're the son of immigrants. But when you're playing Australian rules football, I think he also played track and field, tennis, according to his Seminoles.com bio, you're always in a state of flux. You're always in motion. You are always playing the sport that you are participating in. When you are a punter, it is chaos and stress around you constantly, and you're doing nothing. And then your name is yelled out, punt alert, and you cannot screw up. Otherwise, you let down your entire team, and then your social media gets completely hijacked by disgruntled fans. Walk me through that, Alex. Didn't say it that eloquently, but that's what I was trying to convey to him, and he sort of hinted that he gets it. He's getting used to the whole fact that he does really have a very small, finite amount of time to execute his job, but he's looking forward to doing it. I just wonder, ultimately, if you really know what you're kind of signing up for when you do agree to be a punter, when you're from like another country and you're not all that familiar with American football. I know it's becoming a little bit more popular in Australia. This is becoming a option and a route for a lot of young men down there to come to America and get a really good education and further their their athletic skills, I guess, to a certain degree, but obviously their educational opportunities. But yeah, I'm just kicking this. All I got to do is kick it. Great, fine. But like, no. Like, you're not always going to be kicking. You're going to be standing around 80% of the game, 85% of the game, 90% of the game. And then when it matters, and it's going to be important, you have to come and nail it. You have to absolutely crush it. I mean, the scrimmage hopefully gave him a little bit taste of that. It sounded like it did.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. It sounded like he did really well, and he's doing really well, which is a positive because last year's punting was not great. He's still competing with Tommy Martin, who I think Tommy Martin had like 11 50-yard punts last year. He took over for Logan Tyler, I think, after game 2, maybe, and punted the rest of the season. But he also had a bunch of 28 and 32-yarders, too. So you're looking for a little more consistency. And we all know how important this head coach the importance that this head coach places on special teams. So that's a big deal if he can be good. But yeah, I mean it's going to be an adjustment. But hopefully he's not punting as much as Logan Tyler did in 2018. That needs to be a record that's never broken.
Right.
The amount of punts he had, I feel like it was like 88 or something.
I think you're close too. Look at you. What is a fair expectation of special teams? Because
to be good, man. I think I think they're right when they say that the special teams is all about. That's how you can judge a program because that's almost all about buy-in, and it's about guys playing hard and doing it hard and concentrating on the fundamentals of that position and not just okay, this is the third or fourth thing I do. I don't really care that much. I'm just going to try to get down there and make a play and not really stay in your gap or whatever you're supposed to do, whatever your technique and fundamentals are. I just don't think they have been taught well here in a long time. I think in 2013 they had really good special teams. I think Charles Kelly did an admirable job. They also had a bunch of NFL dudes on those special teams units. Since then, it's been almost, you could say, an unmitigated disaster. The last 2 years for sure have just been awful, but they weren't very good before that. With Jimbo's tenure too, this is a guy that he really focuses on it. And so I do think I think special teams is something you can improve on drastically in a year, because it's about you're going to have almost better athletes than everybody else you play on special teams. So it's all about how much focus and attention they give to it and how much importance they place on it. Did you get the impression that the guys on special teams units the last few years really cared that it was a big part of the game? Did they treat it as such?
Corey, they had 6 different special teams coaches, right? Like one guy did this, one guy did that.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So what message does that send to your players?
Right.
You know what I mean? That Coach Woody's got you for this, and then you have a special teams coach, but you also have a head coach that really, really cares about it, to the point of almost obsessing about it and what it says about his program. So I think that will make probably the biggest jump of the 3. If you want to call them 3 portions of the game, parts of the game. Special teams, I don't think is a third of the game. We'll call it maybe 20% of the game.
An eighth?
Yeah, maybe a little more than that. If you figure there's I don't know how many special teams plays there are in a game. I'd say about 20% are special teams plays, right? When you factor in kicks and punts and
PATs, yeah, maybe.
PATs and all that. But that's a really, he really, really stresses the importance of it every day. What's
the story Corey Clark's writing in October, that special teams theme, though? Are we comparing their average starting position on offense in 2020 compared to years past?
Yes. I think that more than anything, I think just field position in general is the story. Like I know they bust a lot of kick returns at Memphis. They had at least a couple every year he was there, which is fine. That's great. They were close to leading the nation in kickoff return average. I don't think you're facing great kickers in that conference. In this conference, you are. The kicks are either going to be through the end zone or really high and harder to return. I don't necessarily expect a bunch of huge kickoff returns, but I expect good decisions on kickoff returns, and I also expect the penalties to be dropped. So you're not starting every so many drives inside your 10. That's the stuff you look forward to, right? And no penalties on punt blocks or punt coverage or punt returns, like better punting, better kicking, like all that stuff matters. They were just awful last year. The punting wasn't very good. Aguayo was bad, and then maybe the coverage unit. One of the coverage units I think was good, but the return game wasn't. And that staff last year kept running out DJ Matthews to return punts when he would not catch them. Like I foresee. If there's by the way, DJ hasn't been really mentioned much in punt returns at all but he was mentioned. I think we did get the impression that he's still on the team and is going to be part of the team moving forward, if and when he gets back. But I think Norvell's the kind of guy that if he sees his punt returner let another two catchable punts drop, he's like, you're done. You're not going back there. You're done. If you let another punt drop and we lose 15 yards of field position because you're too scared to run up and catch it and call for a fair catch, then you're not our punt returner anymore. Yet DJ had that position on lock for the whole season last year because of one punt return he had against Miami. Now, I think DJ's got some skills with the ball in his hands, but the ball has to get in your hands for it to matter. And there were too many times where he just wouldn't catch them, and you'd lose a first down in field position almost every time. So it's stuff like that. I like to say the little details, Aslan. The little things are the big thing.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
God forbid they get a kick blocked or a punt blocked. I can just imagine the chorus of this. I thought he's supposed to be the special teams guy. I just want to kind of set the bar for what we think about when we talk about improved special teams play. And yeah, maybe they get some more coffin corner kicks with this new punter. Hopefully, with Isaiah Bolden back there and all the options he mentioned. DJ obviously is maybe one of the kick guys. Keyshawn Helton, Miko Dotson.
You know what's weird too is I just looked it up. Miko Dotson only had one punt return last year, and it was for 0 yards. And he had 5 kick returns for a 19.4 average. So I think that's no. I mean, he's saying that. I think that's why you were so surprised by it. Me too. Like he's never really done it in college, and he's on a team with a bunch of guys who can do it. But maybe they saw something he had a bunch of interceptions, so maybe they saw something in his interception returns that they'd like. Maybe he's really good at catching the ball. But yeah, that surprised me too. That's the first name he mentions, right? Well, he mentioned Keyshawn first, and then he mentioned Miko Dotson. But like I said, yeah, Miko Dotson has one punt return in his career.
All right, well, look at that. We'll see. To be determined. Otherwise, Travis Jay, Quayshawn Fuller were the players we spoke to. We also spoke to Odell. Odell feeling the best he has in 12 years after off-season knee surgery. Good for him. Ira mentioned it in one of his tweets. Even just watching Odell walk up to practice the last few years, you would grimace for him. That's what it'll do to you playing ball all those years. The defensive line, Quayshawn had the quote of the day, I think. He was asked what his role is going to be, whether or not he's going to be flexed to the edge or if he'll be playing more on the inside, and what his specific responsibilities will be. And he said he'll be playing on the edge, and he's supposed to get sacks. My job basically is to go get sacks. So.
Go get sacked. Go sack the quarterback. That's what he said. Yeah, go sack the quarterback. Hey,
that's my X factor under the radar guy. I like the way he's talking.
And they talk about him a lot. Now he's a big dude for an edge guy, but maybe that's where the sport seems to be going anyway. And again, I don't know that he's. I thought it was interesting that somebody asked him about how well Kando's playing, and it's like, man, I think he might be competing with Kando a little bit. Yeah. Like he probably doesn't want to talk him up too much. But he was nice and very complimentary of Josh. But I thought that was an odd question, a little bit odd question, but only because it puts him in a position where he doesn't want to be like, yeah, well, he's great. But he did say that. He's like, he goes, I enjoy watching him when I get my mental reps. So that's a guy that maybe you're right. Maybe he's he's a wild card. He's an under the radar guy that can make some noise this season because he's not really a guy that you factored in much. At least I didn't 2 weeks ago. And now the way he's talked about, you're like, okay, well, this guy's going to play, and he might be the real deal.
That's the thing, maybe specifically when I pivot off of talking about the offense, offensive line, talking about the defense, underscoring your message a few times from last season where you really went hard and heavy after this defense needing to get better. Feel good about the back end just with the amount of pieces they have back there. They have, I don't want to say embarrassment of riches, but good grief, they have so many different guys they can plug into the positions they're going to run in the scheme in the secondary. And obviously what they have on the interior with Marvin and Coop and Fabian Lovett, Corey Durden, all these guys, and Malcolm Ray was a guy I think was getting talked up a little bit yesterday. If they can get some pass rushers, I just don't know. Again, this is me always probably underselling the importance of linebackers. Man, if you can cover and you can get after the quarterback, I think you can pretty much hide the other glaring weaknesses. Obviously, you need to stop the run. I just don't know, when was the last time Clemson or Alabama or Ohio State or Oklahoma lost a game and it was, man, those crossing routes they were getting eaten alive on the crossing routes. Their linebackers had no idea what to do. Oh, their linebackers were terrible in space. They couldn't wrap up and tackle. It doesn't happen. They could not cover.
Well,
they could not pressure the quarterback. They could not, they were running free to the second level. I'm not diminishing the play of linebackers, but I think when you give me a wish list of things I want this team and program to improve, man, there's a lot before I would ask for before I get the linebacker.
Well, you said Oklahoma there in that.
True.
Brand, their defense has been terrible for a long time.
Yeah, but is it just the linebackers though? Is that the thing?
No, I'm just saying they win games because of their offense, their defense. But the point is taken. I was just being that guy that was correcting you. Like I was being the actually guy.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Somebody
was thinking it. Somebody was thinking
it. So I voiced it for you. So you're welcome, dear listener. Yeah, man, I got you. I understand what you're saying. I think they're going to be better at linebacker. I think they're going to be. I just think they're going to be so much better coach, man. Don't you believe in that guy? You know what I mean? And Marv, the way they talk about him, the way he talks, the way he comes across, his already pretty impressive resume for being a young dude. I think that guy's a future head coach. I think they got a couple on this staff at least. And I think they're going to be well coached. But I also think, man, linebackers it can be that position where they set the tone. I know Marvin. I know the defensive front is a bigger deal, literally and figuratively. But man, if you have linebackers that go and wreck stuff and play with that kind of abandon and don't catch tackles but punish people, I just think that can set the tone for a whole defense. And when was the last time they had that? Telvin?
Yeah.
Was Telvin the last guy that just went and made constant plays at that position? And that was 7 years ago. So I don't know. I'm not going to say Amari Gaynor is a Telvin Smith, but I think he's got some qualities. I think he's rangy. I think he's fast, and I think he really loves to hit. And then those two freshmen really like to hit. And maybe there's just going to be a new, a new mindset in that position room, because they haven't been good there in a good long while, and they haven't really been all that physical. They haven't made plays. Anything you want a linebacker to do, they haven't done, really. So now that I think they're getting quality coaching, I think the talent's not bad. We don't know if it's great yet because they're still pretty young. Like Jaleel McRae, I think, could be a nice player.
Yeah.
But they're also young. But still, I think Emmett Rice and Amari Gaynor, you have some speed for sure, and then you have some physicality. And they've been missing a lot of both in the last few years.
Basically, look up the Butkus Award and what it looks to reward, and that's what's been lacking in Tallahassee at the linebacker.
There you go. Well, hey, well said, buddy.
My point more along the lines of was back to kind of Quayshawn. I mean, him, Kando, J-Rob, I don't really know who else you can throw in the mix there at defensive end that you feel could be a disruption. But if from those three guys, obviously you'd probably like to have 4 or 5 names to throw out there. But from those three guys, if they can get to the quarterback, if those pressures can turn into sacks, that's where I think a lot of this changes for the defense. Because I think the backfield, I think the secondary is going to be a little more tighter, a little more clean in coverage, looking for the ball. The mission takeaway stuff has been emphasized, and obviously everybody wants to create turnovers. But I think when your defensive coordinator is taking time out of his day, or at least having one of his analysts tweet out from his account who's making turnovers. It's a little bit maybe enhanced or a little louder than other places, and maybe what the previous staff was trying to get done.
I check that every day, by the way. Do you check that every day? I mean, I follow him, but sometimes they usually come when I'm not on Twitter, the tweets. But so yesterday, the takeaway was looks like Raymond Woody had a 4th down stop.
He's always there. We don't talk about him enough. He's always
and our man Jarian Jones had an interception.
There we go.
In team drills.
Okay.
The day before, Emmett Rice had an interception.
There we go.
And it looks like Quayshawn Fuller recovered a fumble, and Josh Griffiths forced
it at the scrimmage.
Yeah.
There's a video clip of that. Check it out.
So good, good for them. But I like that. I think that's great. I think that's a great way of, number one, it lets you know, okay, how many interceptions did the offense throw? I wonder if, let's say Rodemaker threw 4 picks in team drills. Do you think Norvell would go to Fuller and be like, look, let's not list every interception that we had. Let's calm that down and let's just throw out 2. We don't need the world to know that your guys had 6 interceptions today.
No, it's competition.
But I wonder. I mean, I get it. I agree with you, and I'm not saying they would do that. But I think if I was in Norvell's case, I might be like, hey man, let's just calm that down. Let's just say, let's just list the two best ones out of your 6 interceptions. How about that? So.
Last but certainly not least, Travis Jay, since we are talking about the defense, takeaways. Maybe to your point, I think when you mention linebackers can change the complexion of a game with their level of play and their physicality, it would be nice to have a hard-hitting safety back there flying around. Maybe that's Travis Jay. That'd be super cool to have again. I miss that. I miss that a lot.
Imagine if Nasruddin's fully healthy. Look, Jarian Jones is literally making an interception every day. We already know Asante. I saw there was an NFL story written about where I think he was listed as one of the top. He's a potential top 10 pick. Now, this is mock draft stuff in August, so take it with all the grains of salt you can find.
Levante Taylor, Tavares McFadden.
Yeah, but this was from I can't remember who it was, but it was from NFL.com. It was a reputable one. It wasn't like
Bucky Brooks or whatever.
Yeah, it wasn't like Pro Draft Express 2019, whatever. Right. It was a reputable one, but they had him listed as one of the 3 best cornerbacks in the country and potentially a top 10, certainly a potential first round pick. So you know what you got in Asante. And then you also got Jarian Jones making interceptions every other day. You've got Miko Dotson, the league leader, the national leader in interceptions on your team. You've got Akeem Dent, a former 5-star guy. These are all just your corners. So imagine having a rotation like that at corner, and then your 2 safeties are Nasruddin and Jay. It's hard not to get excited about that. You know what I mean? The competition that's happening in practice, you can't stress enough how important that is. Whoever wins that other cornerback spot opposite Asante will have really, really earned it. But they're going to get the other guys on the field in some capacity to go along with Travis Jay, Raymond Woody, like you said, he's mentioned every other day. Man, they have a chance to have it's a deep secondary, and we hope it performs much better than it did last year, which I think it will because I think the scheme will be better. They're definitely going to be coached better, and the defensive line will be even better. So all that, and the linebackers, all that should help to have a really productive secondary in 2020. And it's been a while for that too. But don't you start thinking salivating a little bit? Okay, you probably have potentially NFL cornerbacks, one that could be a first round pick, and then you have 2 freakazoid athletes at safety who both love to hit and can run and are rangy. Man, that's a good recipe, my man. I wonder if Adam Fuller coached a lot of those guys when he was at where was he before?
Marshall,
yeah.
UT Chattanooga.
Yeah. Probably didn't see a lot of Travis Jays and Asante Samuels up there.
Maybe at Ascension, though. I would think at Ascension.
Well, that's probably where he saw most of them.
Goes without saying. We haven't even talked about Cyrus Fagan, and he's a guy that ranked pretty high on our preseason top 40 as an entity. I think we had him 26 overall when you add up everybody's averages and stuff. So that's another guy back there. Yeah, the aggressive nature that you hope that this team's going to have, and Odell talked a little bit about that. Didn't go too deep into it, but obviously the whole fact that the 3-4 read-react stuff probably just wasn't what this program was predicated and based on and what these guys signed up for. So if that's back, and we mentioned it a few times, if you watch that Sun Bowl game, and it was a depleted Arizona State program, without their leading receiver and their leading running back, they didn't do anything. That doesn't mean, for as up and down as Florida State was, if they didn't have Tamori and Terry in that Sun Bowl game, I still think they probably moved the ball. Actually, I shouldn't say that because Terry caught a bomb in that game, right? He had one of those 70-yard touchdowns in that game. But Cam missed that game, and Florida State was still moving the ball, but they would shoot themselves in the foot with the turnovers here and there. But when they were playing kind of just a bare bones, strip it down, let's just go out there and be aggressive and attack the ball, they look pretty good. So put that mentality for an entire preseason, and then with these players being a year better, and again, nobody's guaranteed to be better after 1 year, but I have a hard time thinking that Marvin Wilson would regress and Asante Samuel would regress. Those guys are going to definitely be better. And then the influx of transfers, Miko Dotson, Jarian Jones, the defense. And I need to maybe learn how to love defense more because, again, I'm the offensive guy, but this defense improves as much as we want the offensive line to improve. But the defense actually can. That's probably more tangible. It's probably more practical expectation. Watch out. Watch out, Wake Forest. Sage Surratt, why don't you opt out? You're going to want to sit this one out, big guy. You're going to want to sit this one out.
You better ice up, my man. Ice up. You don't want any part of this. That's a bummer, too. That guy's a really good player.
He is.
What did he do in that game? Did he catch a touchdown against FSU in that game?
I can't. They have all their guys were the same. They were all like 6'4" guys. You could not tell who was who. There's one of their 6'4" guys at Wake Forest.
Yeah. Well, hey.
Clausen got those bags, dropping those bags.
So yeah, he was probably the best returning receiver in the conference. And well, I guess Tamarian might say something about that. Maybe the most productive returning receiver. I don't even know about that. I think he got hurt.
Jeez, he caught 7 passes for 170 yards.
Yeah, I thought I remembered that, but no touchdowns, right?
No touchdowns.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, Sage. You can go up and down the field, but you're not getting in the end zone.
Are you waving your arms right now, incomplete, in your house right now, Corey?
Yeah, absolutely. No. Nope. Go kick a field goal because you're not getting in the house. I think a lot of that might have been on our man Stanford Samuels, which, to be fair, was imagine if he hadn't left. I wonder if he knew the writing on the anyway, because he was a decent college cornerback, and imagine how much better he would have gotten with these guys pushing him.
Yeah.
Like with these guys, he would either shrunk and not played, or he would have been almost elite. And I do think, I think on the defense you have 2 guys that are elite in Asante and Marvin. You have other guys that are close to elite, like Corey Durden, Hamsa, potentially Miko Dotson, Kando. I'll hold off. Cooper. Okay. Cooper's done it a little more in games. And you've got other guys that are like, decent to good college football players like J-Rob and perhaps Amari Gaynor. There's talent there. There's stuff to get really excited about. You have to wonder how they play together because they certainly haven't. They're not used to that. They're not used to being on the same page in anything they do, it would appear. So hopefully that changes. But yeah, man, I think the defense could be markedly improved. It literally could be like I think from 2009 to 2010. And the jump they made there. Now, look, if you remember 2010, there were some games where it was ugly. Oklahoma, obviously, Virginia Tech in the championship game, maybe North Carolina. There were some games there that were ugly where they gave up a lot of points. There were also games where they dominated, and they got a lot. The growth they made from 2009 to 10, well, again, was it like they were the 95th defense in the country and they went to like 38th or something? If you can do that, that's worth 2 extra wins, at least. So now you're an 8 or 9 win team. I'm talking about if you're playing a 12 game schedule. You've got 8 or 9 wins because you've got a competent to good defense. Imagine last year if they just had a competent defense. They beat Boise, they beat Virginia,
beat Wake.
You beat Wake. But Wake only scored so many points. That was on the offense. But that's 2 wins right there. And all of a sudden you go from you're 7-6, right? Or no, not you're 8-5. 8-5 sounds like
8-4 going to the bowl game, and then you probably win the bowl game. You're probably 9-4.
So, and you saw how the defense played against Arizona State, like without some of its very good players, but they had simplified it, and they just played.
Right. We keep talking. I'm sorry. We talk about they didn't have their leading receiver and their leading running back. Florida State didn't have Marvin Wilson either. So
yeah, and they still had their quarterback, who lit up Oregon. I think.
Yeah,
I think he had a good
did.
game against Oregon.
Correct.
And that he couldn't do anything. Like that to me, you build on that performance, and then you're going to be better across the board. You're going to be better this year. That should give Florida State fans hope, and you're going to be better coached. That should give Florida State fans hope that you can have a good defense, not a great one, not dominating. You're not going to shut out. You're not going to be having a lot of baseballs with spikes in them for shutouts, but you can have a good defense. And if you have a good defense, that's an extra couple wins at least. There, I said it. I said it again. I keep repeating myself because I know that's what you guys want to hear.
All right, we're done. That's very well said. Good show.
I don't know if that's true, but it was definitely said.
Jalen Ramsey, I'll leave you this, tweets out, I missed my chance to play with the real Cam Akers at FSU, but he easily becoming one of my favorite teammates already. I'm going to let y'all know. He a motherfucking dog. We getting after it daily. Cam says...
Did he quote a Bible verse after that?
He did not. Cam, I go against the best every day. Let's keep stacking days, big bruh. So.
You know, another tweet I remember from Jalen, and this was weird because I guess they were allowed to tweet. It was right after the Georgia Tech loss, the punt block, the kick block, where Derwin, I think, had like 13 tackles. Like, Derwin didn't start for a good portion of his freshman year.
Yeah.
But that game, he came in and just played maniacally. He was just awesome. And Jalen was on that team, too. And I remember him tweeting at him, I think he called him a dog. He might have thrown the MFer in there, too. But he definitely called him a dog because Derwin was, like, upset that he had given up, like, a fourth down pass on actually a great throw by the kid that couldn't pass. It was a great throw. And he was kind of I think the tweet was like, I'm going to get better, I apologize, or something like that. And Ramsey's, was like, no, you're the real deal kind of tweet. So, hey, I've always said it, Aslan, real recognizes real.
Yeah.
And Cam Akers is the real deal. So's Derwin James and Jalen Ramsey. I'm going to go ahead and throw that out there. And so is Corey Clark. That's why I can recognize them.
That's right.
Because real recognizes real.
Join us on warchant.com around 11, we'll probably say 11:42, but maybe 11:30 in the morning on Thursday. Mike Norvell will be at the mic. Corey will be live transcribing his interview as well as subsequent players and coaches. I don't know if you just kind of scoffed at yourself there, Corey. It's a great benefit you provide.
I was saying that I didn't provide it on Wednesday morning.
I mean, come on.
So let's hope I'm there on Thursday morning.
You got to sometimes let people know what they've got, and they don't realize
exactly
what they have
right.
until you take it away.
You're right.
So, I don't have any problem with what you did. I take no umbrage.
I would say it was much like when, some Florida State fans were okay that Mark Richt left for Georgia, and then getting replaced by Jeff Bowden. It didn't take long to be like, oh no, this isn't good. This hasn't been a good trade. We want Mark Richt back.
I can't let you compare Ira to Jeff Bowden. That's just wrong. Come on, Corey.
Only in his transcribing skills. Everything else, he's Sean Payton. But when it comes to transcribing, I put it in the update. He types like he's still getting used to what a keyboard is. He types so slow. I think he's a two-finger typer. He might just be a one-finger typer. So just know, guys, number one, some of that was in jest, not all of it. But I'll be back tomorrow, and I'm going to put on a show.
Ira, you're a motherfucking dog.
WarChant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. WarChant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WarChant30. That's WarChant30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WarChant30. WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.